Hi and welcome everyone. Welcome to another video on CompTIA Security Plus series. In today's video, we will study the network attacks. So let's get started. So the question number one in today's video is that gaining unauthorized access to a Bluetooth device is referred to as, and the options are phishing, blue jacking, smishing, or blue snarfing. And the correct option is blue snarfing. So as the diagram indicate, the blue snarfing is the process of hacking a mobile device using the Bluetooth. And using blue snarfing, the attacker can then steal the file and access the data on the user mobile device. The question number two is that the practice of sending unsolicited messages over Bluetooth is known as, and the options are SPIN, blue jacking, phishing, or blue snarfing. And the correct option is blue snarfing. So as opposed to the blue snarfing, in blue jacking, the hacker just send spam messages or any message to the user device without actually hacking or stealing the user information. So we can say that the blue jacking is less dangerous as compared to blue snarfing. Question number three is that a wireless disassociation attack is a type of, and we have to select two answers, and the options are cryptographic attack, downgrade attack, de-authentication attack, brute force attack, and denial of service attack. And the correct options are de-authentication attack and denial of service attack. So in this attack, the attacker de-associate the client from the access point, and in doing so, he carries out the de-authentication attack, and by disconnecting the client from the access point, he also carries out the denial of service attack because the user is no longer able to access the services. Question number four is that a wireless jamming attack is a type of, and the options are cryptographic attack, denial of service attack, brute force attack, or downgrade attack. And the correct option is denial of service attack. So as the diagram indicates, in this type of attack, the attacker sends a jamming signal in the vicinity of the uh, sender and receiver, and in doing so, the sender and receiver communication is jammed, and in this manner, this attack is known as denial of service attack because the sender is no longer able to communicate with the receiver. So this is a type of DOS attack or denial of service attack. Question number five is that RFID or radio frequency identification is vulnerable to, and these are different type of attacks, and these attacks are the options are spoofing, eavesdropping, data interception, replay attacks, or denial of service attacks, or all of the above. And the correct option is all of the above. So the RFID device is vulnerable to all of the attack. As we can see here that the transponder and reader are vulnerable to the replay attack or relay attack, jamming attack, DOS attack, eavesdropping attack. So this communication channel, the wireless communication channel, can be compromised using a variety type of attacks. So therefore, the answer is all of the above. These all attacks can be carried out against the RFID device. Question number six is that an NFC is vulnerable to. NFC stands for near field communication, and the options are data interception, replay attacks, and denial of service attacks, and are all of the above. And again, the correct option is all of the above. Again, as we saw in the RFID, NFC is also vulnerable to multiple type of attacks. Question number 7 is that an attacker managed to associate his or her own MAC address with the IP address of the default gateway. In result, a targeted host is sending network traffic to the attacker's IP address instead of the IP address of the default gateway based on the given info. Which type of attack is taking place in this scenario? And the options are ARP poisoning, replay attack, cross site request forgery, or DNS poisoning. And the correct option is the ARP poisoning. So in this type of attack, the hacker actually, let me show the complete diagram. Here we can see that this is the hacker, and here we have the victim and the access point, and the victim is accessing the internet initially through the access point, but the attacker, it forges the MAC address of the access point as well as the victim. So the victim is then sending the accessing the internet through the hacker laptop or computer, and in such way his whole traffic is visible to the hacker, and this whole scenario or this attack is known as the ARP poisoning or ARP spoofing. Question number 8 is that the media access control MAC flooding is a network attack that compromises the security of a network switch by overflowing its memory used to store the MAC address table. And we have two options whether the statement is true or false, and the correct option is true, yes. Using the MAC address flooding or MAC flooding, the switch can be overwhelmed by exhausting all its memory using the flooding attack. Question number 9 is that an attack that relies on altering the bound-in address of a NIC network interface card to assume the identity of a different network host is known as, and we have again to select two options. The options are ARP poisoning, on-path attack, MAC spoofing, replay attack, or MAC cloning. And the correct options are MAC spoofing. So by changing the MAC address of your NIC, you are spoofing the MAC address, and you are also cloning the MAC address of another device. So these are the two correct options. Question number 10 is that which of the following falls into the category of layer 2 attacks? We have to select all the correct options, and the options are MAC cloning, ARP poisoning, MAC flooding, DNS poisoning, and MAC spoofing. And the correct options are MAC cloning, ARP poisoning, MAC flooding, and MAC spoofing. So since MAC address falls into layer 2, so therefore all the MAC address related attacks also falls in layer 2 attacks. ARP is also a layer 2 protocol, that's why it is also a layer 2 attack. Question number 11 is that remapping a domain name to a rogue IP address is an example of what kind of exploit? And the options are DNS poisoning, domain hijacking, ARP poisoning, or URL hijacking. And the correct option is DNS poisoning. So in the DNS poisoning, the hacker or the attacker changes the domain to IP address. He injects his own IP address instead of the real website, and then the client is directed to the rogue or the fake website instead of the real website, and this is carried out by DNS poisoning by changing the DNS entry of the real website to the fake website. Question number 12 is that as opposed to a simple denial of service attacks that usually are performed from a single system, a distributed denial of service attacks uses multiple compromises system to perform the attack against its target. The intermediary systems that are used as platform for the attack are the secondary victims of the DDoS attacks. They are often referred to as zombies and collectively as botnet. And we have two options whether this statement is true or false. And yes, this statement is true. This whole statement is actually the definition of DDoS attacks. And as stated, the DDoS attack is carried out by the attacker using multiple compromised systems that are called as zombies. And collectively, this whole network is called as botnet. And using this system, the attacker targets a victim system or a server and launches a distributed denial of service attack against the system. So this is called distributed denial of service because the attack is carried out by a huge number of systems as opposed to a simple denial of service attack where the attacker carries out the attack individually against the system. Question number 13 is there what is the most common form of a DDoS attack? And the options are IoT or Internet of Things based, network based, OT based, or application based. And the correct option is network based. As we saw in the last diagram, the DDoS attack was carried out using a botnet or a network of multiple bots or zombies. So this is why this is the most common type of DDoS attack. So that's all for today. Please subscribe and stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.